Each offseason, I like to look at different drivers and teams and see what went right or wrong in a previous season, what the outlook of them is. And with the recent announcement that RCR plans to have a part-time third team for 2025, I did want to look at RCR because I think Richard Childress Racing is in a bit of a dilemma or a pickle right now. They overall, heading into 2025, are in trouble basically by any outlook. The team has been for about a decade now just sitting in mediocrity. But in 2020, hell, even 2022, I and others saw this team as a rebounding one. A team that looked to be maybe ascending to where it used to be, at least back when Kevin Harvick was driving for them. Maybe a fringe playoff team to maybe a championship contending team when they had Tyler Reddick. And in 2023 with Kyle Busch, they had 3 wins in the opening 15 races of the year. So what the hell went wrong? And what can they do maybe to fix it? Well, first off, you have to look at the drivers they have, and this is more of a product of what has happened to them. First off, there is the aforementioned Kyle Busch. Age has seemingly caught up with Rowdy. He'll be 40 in May, and contrary to the belief of many fans, just because guys like Kevin Harvick can run well deep into their 40s does not mean that every driver can. So while Kyle Busch probably has more upside than's been shown, it is going to be a mystery box of when he finally just falls off the age cliff, because it does happen one way or another to every driver. And since 2019, when he won the championship, he has had 7 wins in 5 years. 0 of these wins were in 2024. In 5 years, he went from 5 wins to none in a season. 17 top 5s to 5, 27 top 10s to 10, and 1,600 laps led to under 250 laps led. An 8.9 average to 18.3, and 2 DNFs to 5. Now, granted, that is looking at the absolute peak compared to the absolute bottom of the valley. But each category outside of DNFs is worse in 2023, which overall was worse than really the last couple of years he was doing at JGR. He has steadily moved down in performance for the last 5 years, and it doesn't look like there's any chance of pulling up at this point. And the other driver I don't think is in any better position, and that is Austin Dillon, the grandson of team owner Richard Childress. Austin Dillon is perennially mediocre. There is really nothing good or necessarily horrible to say about him as a driver. He just sort of drives where his equipment is overall. He'll have pop-up wins. The Richmond one, I think, was a well-deserved win before it was then taken away by a green-white checker, in which he became an absolute ass. Daytona, though, both of those ones were seen as Mickey Mouse wins, crashing someone to win in the eyes of fans and winning with 12 cars left. Texas in 2020 with the 550 horsepower package and the 600 on a fuel mileage finish in 2017. Yeah. Believe it or not, Austin Dillon has actually won 2 of NASCAR's crown jewel races in his career. But again, overall, he is a driver as good as his equipment. And that leads to another point and factor of why RCR is in the position it's in. The equipment. RCR is mid-tier at best on any given week. Yeah, they did pop up and have a bit of speed late in the summer, but based on all accounts, it's looking more and more like that was due to cheating or to somebody leaking information from Joe Gibbs Racing over to RCR. When RCR is left to its own merits, well, its merits aren't really that great. And RCR has always been a team that's been sort of propped up by high-level talent drivers. When you look at drivers who, in general, have been pretty good there, it's the likes of Dale Earnhardt, Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch early in his tenure, as well as guys like Jeff Burton or Clint Bowyer. All of those guys can elevate their equipment. But when you look at just run-of-the-mill drivers for the most part, it's very rare that you see any of them running better than their equipment really should let them be. Reddick, I think, had more upside in his career than Busch did around the same time. when Reddick left for 2311 and Busch was ending up taking over the 8 car. So I think that's why Reddick took over. And we've seen him become an immense talent in a NASCAR Cup Series. And now with him gone and Busch seemingly starting to tread down that age path, well, you're seeing how it would end up. And the competition isn't going to make it any easier, which leads me to the third of 4 issues that RCR majorly has right now, and that is the competition. It's improved. You have your elite teams, HMS, JGR, Penske, they're all elite. They're competing for wins, championships, and the like. You have Trackhouse, 2311, and RFK as the new era of teams. New age thinking, and these teams are rising up and challenging the elites of NASCAR. And then even towards the back and middle of the pack, where RCR has been the last 10 years or so, Spire, Front Row, and Rick Ware Racing are even all improving to the point that they're outrunning or just running about as well as RCR. Carson Hocevar, I'd argue right now, is the better driver than anyone that's been at RCR in the last couple of years here. And with that, the competition is closer because of the next-gen car. So any different blemishes, maybe you should say, well, those are going to be shown hugely. And when you got new age teams with new thinking like RFK, 2311, and Trackhouse, it's going to be even harder to climb the mountain. And that leads to the last bit, the main factor in all of this, and it is ownership. Richard Childress is a Hall of Famer. He is one of the best car owners in the history of NASCAR, and NASCAR has passed him by. He is old school. His team is run old school. Everyone that talks about RCR or has worked there has said how much more different it is than any of the modern teams that run well because it is old. And with that, it kind of sounds like the old school Roush and how Jack Roush ran the team with even Roush Fenway as a team. We saw how they handled Reddick leaving the team. Unceremonious at best. We saw how they handled Sheldon Creed leaving the team and showing favoritism to Austin Hill. And they're the only legacy team not to evolve. When I mean legacy teams, I mean the ones who were dominant even in the 2000s. When you look at HMS, you got Jeff Gordon and Chad Knaus running things. When you look at Roush, it's now RFK and Brad Keselowski is the one taking over. Joe Gibbs Racing had been working towards giving the team to his sons, but still, the younger members of the Gibbs family are stepping up. And you see it across the board with the Cindrics at Penske, as well as, again, these younger new owners coming in, Denny Hamlin and Justin Marks to be the top guys with that. RCR is stuck in probably the late 90s or early 2000s, and that was able to keep them afloat for about a decade when you had high-end talent. But without that talent, without the equipment, without the forward thinking of ownership, this team is dead in the water right now. So how does it get fixed? Well, I think first off, the ownership has to change in some way, or how the team is run has to change. It can be like RFK. Maybe have someone, a current driver, or somebody younger come in and give some more forward thinking. I think Richard Childress Racing should actually probably at least be taken over in some way by Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon might not be the greatest driver in Cup right now, but ownership-wise, there's a big thing that he did that I think can be a positive thinking and forward thinking way for him, and that is bringing in Kyle Busch. And listen, they're probably going to waste the years they have Kyle Busch, but it was worth taking the swing at one of the best NASCAR drivers at the time and honestly ever. And if you have that younger thinking and forward thinking, then you bring new people in, these other issues are probably going to get fixed or at least remedied in some way. At least that's the blueprint we've seen so far. So now it's up to you. What do you think? What should RCR do, and can they improve like RFK did? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.